Hey guys, so today I'm gonna be working on fuel rail, some upgraded fittings from XRP that I'm switching over to, and I'll kind of explain the whole theory behind why we're doing this. I got the Hypertune manifold here. I haven't cleaned the inside yet, it's just straight from when I ran it last time. Last time I drove the car was winter jam, so probably do a little bit of cleanup on this guy, get these injectors into the rail so I'm ready to connect that on there, onto the intake manifold. But I was gonna explain in detail what's going on here with these fittings and why, and then this is a fresh set of injectors from Deechworks. I run Deechworks 1500cc injectors. They're 14 millimeter, which is good for like the high flow. JZ stuff is usually 14 millimeter. I guess there is a option for 11 millimeter, but it's more 14 millimeter everything nowadays. And then I got a little bit of Torco brake clean here with me, because I'm gonna clean off some of this pipe sealant that was on these pipe threads. Well, I kind of hand threaded them in just to test fit some stuff, but it's from previous stuff. So let's see what we have here. Let me get this all set up so I can just set the camera down, and then I'll move stuff in view. Okay, so what we have going on here with these fittings, so the fuel rail sits like this in the car, and it'll feed into this side, so this is the feed. And I also have no, actually it sits this way. So it'll feed in here to this fitting and to this fitting over here at this end. And then this fitting will go to the regulator. This is like the return system, to the return to the regulator and back to the fuel cell out of the regulator. So the reason I was excited about this and wanted to show you guys is these are quick disconnect fittings. So you can see it's got two O-rings. These are Viton O-rings. I'm gonna be upgrading them to these EPR O-rings, and the EPR O-rings from XRP are straight for ethanol-based fuels. So these connect, I think I briefly talked about this before in another video, but these are push-on fittings that connect like quick release style connect. So there we have it, and then this is what locks it in place. So that's really cool for me, because since we run E85, we're gonna here, let me. So when you run E85, it's known that E85 can clog injectors, it can mess up fuel lines, it can swell O-rings, it can clog filters. So some of that is like exaggerated a bit. So if you run PTFE fuel line, it's not gonna ruin the fuel line, it's not gonna erode the fuel line, it's not gonna mess anything up with the fuel line. PTFE is durable, it's gonna last years and years and years, even with E85 sitting in it. The bad thing about letting E85 sit is it turns more into, because there's a lot of water in E85, so it'll kind of separate, and then when you go to start your car, if you haven't ran it in, let's say, like 6 months, you run the risk of a lot of, like, you don't know how much it's separated, and then you're putting water through your injectors, and it's not gonna work as good. That's one thing. When people say it clogs it, I guess there's a little bit more contaminants inside E85 than there would be in traditional gasoline, so it'll like clog your filter sooner, and then the little particles that are clogging your filter can then also clog your injectors. So if you run a 6 micron filter, you usually avoid any clogging inside the injectors. But with all that said, just to be on top of like our maintenance, and not even maintenance, just to be preventative for any issues coming up on the race car. We check our fuel filters quite frequently, and then we also check our injectors and have them flow tested in between each round of FD. It's not too hard to take the fuel rail on and off on a JZ with aftermarket fuel rails just sitting right there on top. And now, with these quick disconnect fittings that I'm talking about, it's literally as easy as like unclipping one of these guys on 3 separate, you know, hoses, the 2 feeds. And I mean, I could do it with one hand, that's how easy it is. So it's very similar. If you guys, you know, some of you guys out there know exactly what I'm talking about with these quick disconnects. Some of you, this is new to you. Some of you guys have seen this on intercooler piping with Wiggins clamps, is what started it years ago. Then AccuFab copied them, and then after that, we have 15 companies building those now. Like Vibrant makes 2 different styles of it, and the list goes on. But for fuel lines, you don't see this stuff too often. It would be really amazing if you had every AN line on your car with a quick disconnect, because then just take it apart at the track crazy fast, and you know, instead of needing a wrench for everything. But they're expensive, and I can only afford 3 of them for this season. I can't really be changing too many things on my car right now. And then I'm trying to build that other car, so that's gonna take money too. Haven't even started on that yet. So then I got these plugs. I'll show you guys this. I'll put the camera back down. So I also got these little plugs, so when we were to pull the rail out but there's still fuel in the line, we will shove one of these plugs in place so that the thing doesn't keep leaking all over the place. These O-rings are pretty tight right now, and I'm going to be switching them anyway, but you just push that guy in there, and then you'll use the same collar to hold it in place. Snaps right in. Easy as that. So cool. I've literally had my eye on this setup for I think 4 years now, but it just seemed like last year the race season was like so many races and stuff, and we're always switching. I was like, it's just time to do it. It'll make it easier when we're at the track. So that's what we're doing, and I'm gonna get to work on starting to install this. And I use a little bit of pipe compound. This is what you put on pipe threads. These are pipe threads. You can tell because it's tapered. I don't know if you can see it, but like the base of it to up from right here to right there, it tapers upward. So as it tightens in, you know, as you're going deeper and deeper, it's gonna bottom out and get tight, usually around like right here. But sometimes if the person machining the threads in there went deeper with the tool and the tooling, then it'll go all the way to the bottom. But I gotta be careful, because you don't want any of this going into your fuel system and then just going right into the injector and clogging it. So I'm gonna clean out the threads in the rail, then I'm gonna clean off these threads with some brake clean, and then I'm gonna just apply just the right amount and then thread them in. And then after that, I'm gonna switch the O-ring. So I'm gonna get to that right now. So now they're on. I'm gonna go grab the right AN wrenches and tighten it all down, and then make it super tight so that we're not gonna have any leaks with that, and that part, peace of mind there. Then I'm going to apply these O-rings, which those are ethanol based O-rings that aren't gonna swell over time. These Viton ones will work, but give it a couple like on and off, on and off, on and off, we're gonna get some swelling because it gets direct contact with ethanol, and it's just, so that's why we're gonna do these, just better for longevity. What I'll do is just get all this stuff prepped and ready and showed you guys, but the injectors I'm not gonna install till we actually put the motor in the car, and right before we put the, because to install the intake manifold and get everything tight, and I install this when it's already in the car so I don't bump this as we drop the motor in. So then I need to have space to tighten everything down. Then I'll install this guy with injectors after it's in the car. So that's not happening today, not for a couple days or weeks or whatever, probably 2 weeks from now or a week from now. So I'll just get this stuff cleaned up, and then you guys get the point that these injectors, Teachworks 1500s, are gonna go in the Hypertune rail and manifold. We're just not there yet. But I wanted to share this with you guys so you can see how that's gonna happen. So pretty much accomplish that, and then I'm gonna clean up a little bit here, and I will talk to you guys soon. Alright guys, so we are on the Supra right now. Been working on some AN lines. For the time being, I was just making this one, a new one here, and down here. These are all power steering related lines. So the reason being is they were 3 years old, and I was able to replace it with this really cool new double swivel style. So it's a crimp line too, so it's got that crimp collar on it. I think it focused there, and then it's got the second swivel point right here, so I can spin this line while it's already tightened down and in, because both ends are a swivel. Unfortunately, this side had to be a tight 90 with like so it has the forged end here instead of the bent tube end like normal AN fittings are. So, but I still got a double swivel on this side, which is really cool. One thing I'm not 100% happy with is see how the anodizing's nice and black, and then here after it goes through the crimp machine and it crimps it, it's like you can see the stress, the anodize, like, because the collar starts out bigger and then it gets crimped down to spec so that it can hold pressure, but then it's like the anodizing gets a little discolored, unfortunately. And there's 3 choices you can do: gold, super nickel, or black. Gold, there's no gold in my car, we're not doing gold. Super nickel is kind of like a shiny silver. It would almost be the same color as this like stainless steel AN is, but yeah, I don't know. No one's gonna know but us, right guys? So this connects to the power steering like so, and it's in the car, so that's why it needs a tight 90 for adjustment on it'll go right here on the motor, but you gotta like pull that out of place to get a belt on, then tighten it back, and when it's tightened all the way back to tension, that tight 90 almost hits that power steering cooler that you see in the car right next to the frame rail, which is this guy. So it can't use a traditional 90 like this. This is a 120, but traditional fitting like that, and it's really close to hitting, so that's how we have that. This one down here is really cool because it's also double swivel ends. But now I took off a fuel line. Remember we were talking about the fuel rail earlier and the fittings. This is the traditional fitting. I have a cap on there right now, but this is what we were taking on and off many times last season, so now it's just gonna be a push on there. Should be pretty cool. So now I'm gonna go remake this line. So I have 45 down at the bottom, and I have a 90 at the top, and we have some of the fittings, the clamshell style fittings. I had them stored over here, so I'm gonna grab them right now, go over to the crimp machine. We're gonna cut some, I think I put it inside of here with the injector. We're gonna cut some AN hose and start building lines with these 3 guys here. I should be able to build all these lines right now without the motor and stuff, because both the feed lines are removable off of the filter, because each feed has its own filter, pre-filter before the rail, and then I just need to make it the same length or within like 1/4 inch of the same length, and we'll be good to go. So let's go over here to the hose and fitting station here at the shop. We're gonna use this -8 PTFE style line, so it's the 85 rated. It's got the PTFE lined hose, really hard to pinch it because it's plastic inside. This is just a normal line. See how it's easy to collapse it? It's just rubber on the inside. So now we're gonna be doing -8. So this drawer has -8. This is the 90 that we'll use, and then this side we need a 45. So here's a 45. So 90 and a 45 make up this line here, and then we need the collars. Crimp collars are right here. So we need 2 of those. Then we need to get some of this hose down. Looks like this one's been used already. Grab this one, throw it down here, put this back. Okay, so now I will probably need to put the camera down and start trying to do this. Start with the clamshell, the 90 fitting on this end. That's what we gotta do. But we gotta change the die in the crimp machine, because I was just doing -6 lines. We're gonna do -8 now. -8. So it has, come on, focus. There you go. So it's -8. Crimp die, it's a race crimp die. Put it in. Slide the fitting in through the bottom. Get that in there. And crimp it down. Okay, so after we crimp it, we need to check this spec sheet. There's a lot of notes and dirtiness on there, but I need it to be 0.715 of an inch. And it's crimped and it still swivels, so that's always a plus side. It makes everything easier because you don't have to clock any of the other fittings. So you just throw it in, crimp it, and then when you go to install it, you just swivel this till it lines up. It's really, really cool. So now we gotta measure this to have it be the exact same length as the current one, or, you know, close. Okay, so this is how this line will go if I crimped it right now, and we're trying to make sure it's gonna be roughly the same exact length as the current one from start to finish. Looks about like we nailed it exactly. There was room for it to be a little shorter or longer, so I don't think it needed to be so exact, but I'm always trying to make it, if it was working before, you don't want to make it too different, because then it might not reach or might dangle too low, you know. Okay, so now we crimp this one, then we'll go over there and install it. To have this do what we require is we need to put this PTP fire sleeve on here. So we're gonna actually leave this here and bring some of that fire sleeve over from the box from PTP. Go grab that. So that's the line we made, pretty much identical. PTP makes a lot of stuff for heat control for your engine bay. So we use their turbo blankets, and we use plenty of other parts from them. But what we're gonna be using tonight, here's a box of PTB stuff. PTP turbo blankets. So I run this on my turbo, on my four-corner. So this is for the bigger AN lines. We'll be covering those. I'll show you that when we get to that. But for the Dash 8 and the Dash 6 lines, we use the thinner stuff. And then we did get also in here, there's some, this is like that shielding that we put on the firewall. It's like a 24 by 24 inch sheet. It works really good to deflect heat in certain areas. And then we do get exhaust strap that we can wrap dump tubes in, and header, things like that. So this company, you need to check it out. We have a lot of their products on our website. We sell a little bit of it to you guys on our website, but if you're trying to hide a hose or cover, not hide it, but keep the hose away from heat in a tight area that's next to exhaust manifold, downpipe, or just headers on an NA, it's like, this is the stuff that you want to get. This stuff is perfect because the line can be already pre-made, and it splits open and then has an adhesive on it. So I'm going to show you guys that right now. I think this is the size I need. This will kind of universally do a 6 and an 8 line. And then this one will cover a Dash 10 line, which we'll be doing that in a little bit here, not today, but soon. This is what it's like when it's on the line already, but this is with a whole season on it. It's weathered. If you're not doing a race car application, you're doing a street car, you could leave that on there, good to go. But we're doing like heavy abuse on this car, and we're pushing it to the limit, and we're doing it, you know, where we like pay a lot of money to get to and from all these races. So it's really good to just refresh it and rely on it, you know? Ooh, Chris Forsberg's calling me. All right, so we have this PTP fire sleeve. This is what I was talking about, where it's adhesive. It's really cool. So we already made the line. We didn't have to slip it over before the fittings went over. Line's already made and crimped. Now I can just make sure it's nice and tight fit and apply the adhesive to itself like this. Sealed up, good to go. So this hose was already PTFE line stainless hose. It can withstand, I think it's 650 degrees. Obviously not at contact, but you know, pretty close to it. And now you wrap it with that, and this is gonna last a lot longer. And that is why I do that in most situations. Let me figure out what the heat rating is actually. Might be less than I was thinking. 500 degrees. Okay. So it can handle 500 degrees. This would have probably been okay maybe without this, but just trying to be safe on the fuel lines next to the engine. So we got this one completed. I'm gonna go reinstall this one, grab the other one off the car. Oh, this one back. Grab the other one off the car. Whoa, hiccups. And then come over here and build the other one with you guys. The other one's a little bit longer. It wraps in and then goes up to the front of the fuel rail. This one's for the back of the fuel rail. So let me see if I can get this to stay here so I can work with both hands. Okay, so this one goes here, and it kind of sits like that on the fuel rail like that. So it's gonna work great. And then the cool thing is this can still swivel if it's a little bit misaligned. I don't think it will be, just in case if it was. Let's Joe do it. He looks angry right now. Well, we'll just end with that.